Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my show Future Friday. In today's episode we're going to talk about Elon Musk's Neuralink. So let's dive right into it. So what the heck is a Neuralink? Neuralink is a basically patent or copyright, whatever you want to call it. It was created by, basically these two names are very hard to say. I will link that down below. Basically these two people created this in 2015 and they started to basically try to find investors. Nobody invested in. However, in 2016, they got an anonymous investor and they were like flat out sold it. After the deal was done, then they realized that Elon Musk was the reason why the deal went through. Basically, he bought it, and Elon Musk is not running the company. Basically, he's the investor, but he's not the CEO. CEO is Jaron Barchil. I'm sorry, I can't read sort of name. I'm very sorry about that. So basically, Elon Musk is not the CEO, nor the company is made out of him. Basically, these two people made the company beforehand. One of them is a neurosurgeon. So foundation was laid down. Elon Musk bought it, and now other people are running the company. So what the heck does it do? Basically, it's a brain-computer interface. Now you might be puzzled by the aspect is like we do interact with computers, that's how we have this and all that. So what the problem with that is, basically if you have a computer and let's say you want to send out an email, you basically think about it and then you use your hands to type the command and then you send it. Now that adds lags and limits the bandwidth. Basically you can't type very fast. But what if you let's say speech to text? Again, the bandwidth is not bigger. Let's say you are typing at 5 megabytes per second, now you are doing 10 megabytes per second. However, your mind is much faster than that, so your mind can be like at 40 megabytes. This is the whole idea, tapping into that bandwidth, basically the upper limit of human brains they want to reach. Basically brain computer interface, they are bypassing the body. Basically brain does everything, they are just bypassing it. It's like instead of your body like typing it out, your mouth speaking it out, you are just directly electrically communicating to your brain. Direct brain computer interface. Now the device they are talking about is a neuroprosthesis. Basically it's inside skull. The idea of brain computer interface is not new. It has been researched from 1980s onwards, and as you can see there were like many non-invasive options. Basically they were trying ECG to read your sensor, but it does not work. Basically the TLDR of is even though brain has an electrical signal, even though if you can read that electrical signal you can do a lot of things, but signal is not strong enough. Basically we are not a 100-volt system, we are very microvolt kind of system, so the signal does not penetrate the skull. So basically even though the best ECG system you can think of, you can put it there, it will barely get signal. So we did try that, it does work, it's just not basically clear enough. Basically you have a camera and you have like a frosted glass in front. Because of that skull we can't read that signal very well. So many people have tried that, and MRI machines, including fMRI machines, basically functional MRI machines, they went so far. fMRI can directly see inside, however you can understand fMRI machines are not cheap, but they did manage to reach a point where they can read your dreams. Basically whatever you saw in the dreams, it like created an approximation of that. So it does work. The idea of brain computer interface is not new, it has been researched thoroughly, but the final limitation is that you have to go inside the skull. Now MRI machine is a good option, but it's not a practical option, so they have to create an implant, something like this. Now this is also not new, people have been trying that. There are deep brain stimulations, there were a lot of things that was tried out. The reason for this, why everybody is like trying to drill inside a human brain, is simply because we want to fix a lot of brain disorders. Like think of it this way, if your human body is good enough, let's say you figure out a way to fix your body's cell degradation, basically the damage caused by oxygen, the damage caused by wear and tear and all that, and you fixed it up, you made sure your heart is like, okay, I'm good, I'm gonna keep beating for 200 years. You fixed out your internal organs, they are like, yeah, I'm good, and you have a replacement ready, so you are good for 200 years. Here's the deal. And if you can turbocharge your immune system, you are not dying from cancer, the first thing that will kill you after those things is your brain. Basically brain is our final limitation. We can fix cancer, we can like I have already have 2 family members that have survived cancer. Of course they were detected early on, so but you get the point. Like we went from cancer equal death to like, okay, cancer, how early you have detected it, and it does work. So all those things we can fix out. Like we can replace heart if it's a defective one. Soon we'll have organs, basically we're gonna grow organ from stem cell. That way you won't have to worry about organ rejection, so that will also work out. But the final limitation, basically the final limitation to immortality is brain just basically it goes YOLO after 70 to 80 years and it starts to decay. Now the decay could be very catastrophic. It can go from like, okay, I'm having a hard time remembering things, to having hard time remembering who am I. So there are a lot of long list of problems that is happening to the brain. So we have to understand how the heck it works. We have to understand how to, and in terms of paralysis, the number of paralyzed people, the number of basically people who are suffering from some sort of brain issues it has grown exponentially. Basically, we are living so long that these sort of issues started to come up. So this become a very big industry. That's why company after company, university after university, hospital after hospital, they are pouring so much money into directly creating brain-computer interface. Think of it this way: when you are talking about Stephen Hawking, you must have been aware that he's completely paralyzed. In early days, he was using hand, trying to do something, type things out and all that. Once his hand was paralyzed permanently, then he started to use his eye as a mouse pointer. Okay, but you can understand it's not high bandwidth. But if he had this technology, again, this technology is not completely there yet, but let's say he had that, he could have written on multiple books, he could have given much more basically much more interactive conversation with his colleagues and all that, rather than like waiting, he's selecting things and then coming things out. So that's the whole point of this. So is there science behind it, or is it just voodoo magic? Basically, science of this is very complicated. Think of it this way: we know brain is there, we know what does it do, we know its core of everything, we just don't understand how the heck it works. However, in basically last 50 years, we have gathered enough information that we understand some aspects of it. Basically, what it is. So it is a basically neuro-electrical process. Now, of course, we are not running on 100 volts and 5-volt circuit like your processor. I think processors are 3 volts, or semiconductors are like 1.5 volt. We are not working like that. However, we do have some similarity with that. So based on that given the fact that we have electrical architecture in our brain, we realized we have neurons. Now, neurons have like lot of electrochemical process. It's not just one thing. It's just not like, okay, electricity or just chemicals. It's a basically electrochemical process. Both are intertwined. So we have neuron and we have synapses. Between these two, we have a connecting system which we call axon. Now, this axon has the strongest electrical system out there. So if you can directly tap into this, now when I'm talking about tapping, I don't mean like cut it out and then put a T-joint and connect it. I'm just like, if you can directly read the electrical output of this, you can basically figure out what this neuron is doing. How we do with that? Basically, we put a conductor next to it, because electricity creates a magnetic field. The magnetic field will introduce charge into the conductor, and voila, now you know without tampering with this what the hell it's doing. So that's the whole core of this. That's the principle behind it. Basically, neurochemical thing is happening in the brain is doing what it's supposed to do. You are just basically tapping into it using electrical signal without invasive, like without cutting the neurons itself. So you can directly read what neurons are doing, and because magnetism goes both way, you can influence it also. Basically, let's say this neuron is supposed to fire and it's not firing, you can introduce a charge using the electrode that you use directly. So it is two-way street. It's read and write also. So do understand this aspect, that if you have this electrode, it can also affect your brain. It's supposed to happen. That's the whole point of bandwidth. Basically, you won't need eyes. You will have direct like graphics user interface inside your head without your eyes. So that's the upper limit, of course. So this is read and write. It's not just like, okay, I'm gonna figure out what you're supposed to do. It's like, it's also gonna give you feedback, which is necessary if you are talking about, let's say, prosthesis, basically people who have lost limbs and all that. If they don't have feedback, they don't know whether the systems are working. Let's say you send a system, okay, lift the arm. Now arms is lifted or not, how do you know? You can't see that. We don't think about it. Like, we know because there is a feedback. So feedback is necessary. So how the heck they're gonna do this? Like, okay, the science is there. How the heck they're gonna do? Basically, they're gonna do this to your brain is just having hundreds of electrodes directly go into that. Now, this was done on animal. That's why the electrodes are so big. This kind of electrode will never be like, approved for human. So what Elon Musk is proposing is electrodes that are that tiny. Basically, they are thinner than human hair. Basically, if they directly penetrate this to your brain, unless it directly damages a blood vessel, you won't even know it. So it has been tested with biological material, so it won't cause any infection near around you. So science is there, science works, and we have been testing it on living things. Basically, there have been like monkeys that had brain implants, and they were moving robotic hands using their minds only. So science behind it is very solid. It's thoroughly tested. We know how it's supposed to do. It's just how to do it efficiently. Basically, we have the mobile phone. Now we have to make 2G or 3G or 4G. So what exactly the NeuralLink will do? Basically, they have the thread. The thread is basically the implant system, basically what they're gonna put inside your brain. The reason for that they're calling it thread is simply because it's way too thin. And as you can see, this is a human hair and this is thin. Now, if you were like, why the heck there are these beads? Think of it this way. Neurons are much smaller than this. So if you don't have those beads, like you won't have the ability to figure out, differentiate between one neuron to another neuron. Ideally, you want to have like, okay, neuron A, neuron B, neuron C, but you will have like this area this area. So have that too many areas, they have to have registers, shift registers, and a lot of electrical things in this. So it's not just an electrode, there is a lot of logic built into that thread itself. So that is why this thread required a lot of research. Like the thread itself is very expensive inherently, obviously. It will take time. Once they figure out mass production, they will make it cheap, but that's the whole point. The thread is very strong. You have to understand, like, this is thinner than human hair. It's not supposed to break. Like if it breaks inside your skull, that's a big issue. So again, if this is this small, it will be very hard to see, and they have showed it on the display. You need a microscope to see. It's very thin. So they're supposed to use a robot to do the implant. The reason why for that is, like, basically A, human will have hard time, B, robot is using basically everything it has, basically from cameras to infrared, and it can map the system in 3 dimensions. You have to understand, you cannot penetrate a blood vessel. You have to make sure you go around it. So to do that safely, you must know the 3-dimensional space of blood vessels and all that. So this robot can easily do that now. Again, easily, they have been developing this for 3 years. So this is how it's gonna do. They're gonna put this thread into this robot. This robot is gonna thread your brain. The basically end of those things will go into N1 basically node. This is the quote-unquote processor. This will communicate to a wireless pad that will be behind your ear, and you're gonna tap directly into this. So this will be wirelessly powered and data. So benefit of that is, in case of corruption, in case of viral attack, all you have to do is you don't have to worry about it. This will not have any powered system. Benefit of that is, like, this will allow them basically company to get approval, medical approval, very quickly, because if you want to put batteries into your implants, you have to go through extra system. Basically there is a lot of things you have to do, because even for let's say a pacemaker and all that, there is a lot of R&D that has to do. So to cut down on R&D cost and increase safety, they want to use that. It's like, just there is an implant, there is a thread, there is a processor, and you just have a wireless pad, and they can upgrade the pad whenever with modern technology, and they can make it smaller. So, and what it's supposed to do? Does it supposed to read your mind, figure out you are telling the truth or not? No. Human brain does not have a memory system. You have to understand that. Like, human brain is not like a basically SD card. It's not like we have a micro SD card here. It's not gonna do something like that. We don't have memory. Our memory is like a neural net, where it's like every data is spread around. Basically my face, you don't know my face. Like, you're not taking a snapshot of my face and storing in your brain. It's like, okay, 2 eyes, this skin color, this eyebrow style, those are being saved, not my face itself. So you can even forget what color of my t-shirt is. So we don't have basically memory. For that reason, we cannot ever create a proper truth-telling machine. Basically, lie detector, you don't have to worry about that. However, your feelings and emotion it can read. So what they are primarily targeting for right now is in this area of your brain. The idea with that is, this area is associated with motion. Basically, if you want to do this, or you want to move your arm or things like that, this part of the brain gets active. So reading that, they can help paralyze people. Now that's the first step. Like, okay, paralyze people, can we figure out the motions? Now what the final product supposed to do is basically have that. Basically, you're gonna have electrode, you're gonna have processor, you're gonna have this node. This node will directly communicate to your keyboard, mouse, or computer, and act as those peripheries. That's the whole point. That's the end game of the generation 1. It's like, if you are paralyzed, they will directly do the implant and all that, and once it's done, you will be able to, like, even in a paralyzed, think of it this way, Stephen Hawking with is like properly able to type and use basically microphone, mouse, and all that. So that's how it will work. So what kind of potential we are talking about? As you can see, like this area. So this will be the biggest thing after smartphone. Like, think of it this way. This is a fundamental research. Like, if we can figure it out, if we can, like, of course, there is so many research have to be done. So many political hurdles have to be cleared for. So many medical issues have to be cleared out. Like, there is a very long list of issues that has to be solved, and it will be very slow. Like, don't expect this to, clinic near you around in 2030. Like, it will take time, and it will be first it will be limited to the people who are suffering from some kind of illness. But if they reach the point where they're supposed to reach, it has a very significant change in human history. Like, it will change humanity more than what a smartphone did, because, like, we can't truly explain this. Like, the amount of change it will cause, it's dramatic to say the least. And human testing, they are targeting for 2020, basically next year, and animal testing is already going on. Like I told you, they did it for animal. Like, this is the mouse, they had this USB port. Basically, you have USB-C port. They literally have USB-C port on a mouse. So, like, you just plug it in, directly control the mouse, because I told you those are bi-directional communication. So this if this works out, like they don't even have to do too much. If they can, like, okay, just keyboard shortcuts and all that, imagine what kind of video editor you will be. Like, you are laying down your bread, basically bread, I'm saying, laying down on your bed, and you can video edit like a whole movie without any issue, because like keyboard and mouse is the frustration. Like, we are sitting in the chair and like our backs are hurting and all that. One YouTuber video put like a very interesting part, like that's the sole reason he will get this. It's just he does not like to sit on a chair, and you are like up desk and all that. Yeah, it's expensive. So having this will directly allow us to utilize our resources much more effectively, and this will kill everything. Basically, Apple, Samsung and all that, they will be like pushed to a point. Whether you make a service, you make a server, that's it. Like everything else will be put into this, and it will make so much money. If it works out, the $1 trillion valuation of Apple would be for chump change. So they're like, yeah, $1 trillion, that's cute, that's nice. The potential of this is like money printing. They're not gonna make money, they're gonna print money. So is there a dark side to this? Yes. Like, if I've started to explain the dark side of brick by brick, it will take me more than 1 hour to, like, go on a rant. So I'm giving a very concise option. Basically, watch the TV show Black Mirror, the entire history of you. This is basically in season 1, episode 3. It's a completely sealed story, so you don't have to watch previous 2 episodes. It's like a short movie, think of it that way. And then in that also they had a beam behind their ear. Now, of course, in this basically quote unquote mini movie, the idea with that beam was it was acting as a recorder. Basically, it was black box recorder of human body itself. So whatever you see, whatever you feel, it kept recording that. So just watch it. Like, just watch it. Like, you will understand why people keep calling this, like, what NeuralLink is doing is Black Mirror, Black Mirror, Black Mirror. Just watch this episode. Season 1, episode 3. It's on Netflix. So this was my presentation on NeuralLink. I hope you liked it, learn from it. In that case, please click a like button. If you didn't like it, didn't learn from it, I would urge you to press dislike. I would urge you to press it twice to show me your extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're feeling, and as always, thanks for watching.